Should play Jeopardy music, right? Let me know when you got it. All
Not
right.
yet. I'm still looking.
I believe we are live there.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it, Danae? Yes, we do. Well,
Yes,
good
we're live.
morning. Let me admit here, we still have people coming in the Zoom room. Good
Yes,
morning,
we're live.
everyone. Danae, you're gonna have to mute yourself.
Oh.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you click that button and decided to join in this morning, thank you for looking in, whether you're looking in live right this moment here on Facebook, or you're looking at it later in the week on Facebook or via YouTube. We welcome you. We welcome ministries all over the world. We welcome people all over the world. And we are so happy and grateful that you have made the choice to join us here this morning. So thank you so much for being here. To get us going this morning, I'm going to turn it over to Tanae to come out and share with us an opening inspirational piece today. So come on out, Tanae.
And good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Today's inspirational piece is from the Divine Science Federation International. And it's a piece that was written by the very great Joseph Murphy. And the piece is called Affirmative Prayer to Recondition the Mind. I am a channel of God. I know I am here to express more of God's love, life, truth, and beauty. I have much to give. I can give love, laughter, joy, confidence, and goodwill to all people, all animals, and all things in God's universe. I am here to stir up the gift of God within me. I realize that I am a gardener, mentally speaking, and as so shall I reap in life. So that was sow, S-O-W, and then comma, S-O, shall I reap in life. Life is a mirror for the king as well as for the beggar. And whatever I give to life, life returns to me magnified, multiplied, and running over. I deposit in the garden of my mind wonderful seeds of peace, love, goodwill, success, harmony, and joy. I forgive myself for harboring negative, destructive thoughts, and I pour out love and goodwill to all people everywhere. I know when I have forgiven others, because when I meet them in my mind, there is no sting. I am free. I am constantly partaking of the fruit of the delightful seeds I am depositing in my subconscious mind. I know that my thoughts, like seeds, will be made manifest as form, function, experience, and conditions. I think on these things, and the cosmic power is with my thoughts of good. I am at peace. Amen.
Amen. And thank you for that, Tanae. I appreciate that. I love Dr. Joseph Murphy indeed. And we're going to dive in this morning. And I selected that piece because I think it really sets the frame for what we'll be talking about today. And it's another one of those things where, hey, I'm relying on direct download to deliver a message this morning, loosely based on my podcast from last week, but on the heels of what we talked about the last couple of weeks. We talked about 5 habits that if you adopted, 5 habits that almost everyone participates in. 5 habits that if we fasted from participating in those habits, we would see some transformation in our lives in a very short period of time. But we went a step further because we know and we learn that just the way we're wired, when we move something out, we create a void, we create a vacuum, and we have to move something in to replace what we have identified through that lesson as habits that we no longer want to participate in. So we were offered right here through this ministry 5 things that we could move into place. So that's what we did. And so we started talking about that movement that starts to take place. What happens? Because we know that thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals results. We know that when we're moving out the old, sometimes there's a little bit of disturbance that we call chemicalization, but we're not going into all that today. But we know that we're moving the old out, we're moving the new in, and something is changing. What is it that's changing? Well, what's shifting is our vibration, our alignment with the good, our alignment with God, staying focused on the presence and power of spirit, staying focused on our essence, our own divinity. And I brought up one of my favorite writers and authors, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and some other authors as well, that always would say, match the vibration of the thing you want, and the thing you want is yours, right? But then it would seem to stop short a little bit. For me anyway, maybe I wasn't right to hear it or at the right place at the right time, but I'm thinking, okay, I want to match the vibration of the thing I want. What do? I just start shaking in different ways in order to vibrate, or stand on one of those things. Remember back in the, what is it, 50s or 60s, they had this thing, you put this strap around your waist and you hit the button, I don't know if they did anything, but I don't think that's exactly what we're talking about here. So what we're going to talk about today is some of the intangible things we may desire more of in our lives, because we're not always given instruction around this. But I think if we look at some of the intangible things, some of the intangible aspects of choices we can make, what we would like to exude more of or receive more of, I think you'll be able to relate this to the vibration and the frequency. Now, we know everything vibrates, right? And the rate at which it vibrates is the frequency. So vibration, just everything's vibrates. I mean, we even go back, well, I'll get to that in a minute. We're going to define vibration for you. But if we look at, I want to give you a visual. That's why we're doing PowerPoint today, because we think in pictures. And this will help you to see more of and relate to it more the next couple of slides here. If we look at the staff when music is written out, what you have in front of you, the lines are EGBDF, the spaces are FACE. But if you are familiar at all with music, they don't just stop here, because we know that the scale goes up. We call each range from C to C, say, or from E to E, an octave, right? And then above that, there is a higher E, a higher G, a higher B. So these notes, these lines go up and up and up and up. So if you would look at a piece of music, there's notes in up and below this. Now we know, like A, for instance, it has a vibration rate of we call it 440 or A440. And that's the vibration that A, where it is on this scale right here, vibrates at 440 cycles per second, right? That's a lot. I didn't count them. I rely on science for that. So this is one thing that we can visual. You can also look to the lines on the page to look at, okay, the levels of vibration. This will make sense as we go along. We can also look to, and I brought this up, we were talking a little bit about this last week, we can look at a radio. If we're staying in the area down toward the bottom of the dial where we find all the news talk and the negative news talk and all that stuff going on. Well, if we want to hear something different, something maybe more uplifting, maybe some smooth jazz or some classical, we turn the dial right where it says tuning up there. We shift, we change the frequency, right? And this is all around. We can't see it, but it's out there. So this is things that are outside of us that we deal with every day, that are taking place every day, but they're outside of us. What about going within us? And what I'd like you to do is to continue with the visual relationship here that I'm sharing with you. So, and I want to use some examples, but you can relate this to anything in your life, whether it's love or a bigger house or more wisdom or whatever it is in your life that you are seeking more of when it comes to frequency and vibration. What I'd like you to do is picture a staircase or a ladder. A ladder is a great one. I love using the ladder because we all know what a ladder is, but I want you to picture a really, really, really big ladder. Okay. So you have a really, really big ladder. And let's say everything that we want to experience right now, where we are in consciousness and what we'd like to see more of in our life, everything is, say, up on the 72nd floor of the building. High-rise building, everything is up there. 72nd floor, it's all there. Everything we want. Okay. So we want to get there, and we have the ladder in front of us to get there. So what do we have to do? We have to take that first step. We have to get on the first rung of the ladder, right? And here's what happens with vibration and frequency. If we looked at each rung of the ladder as the frequency that we're on, we know that we know that it exists, okay? It's just like our dream, our desire, our aspiration, our goal, or our objective. It exists because we've already created it, designed it using the power of our mind, using the power of imagination, and it's there. It's a real thing because we know that everything has come from the invisible world of non-form, has come from spiritual substance, unconditioned energy, and by the grace of God, we are able to mold and shape that unconditioned energy, spiritual substance, and make it manifest in our visible world of form. So we have already created this, that 72nd floor, whatever is up there for you, we know it's there, it's real. We've created it because everything is created and has been created this way, as an idea, then moved into form. Okay, so what we're going to do now, hang on one second. Okay. So everything's on the 72nd floor. And here's what happens with so many people and why this is so important to understand what vibration you're in, what frequency are you tuned into, what is your emotional state, being able to step back and take a look at that. So everything's on the 72nd floor. And we start to recognize this, and maybe we're doing this consciously or unconsciously because this is simply the way it works. Especially when you see people in starting out with either maybe working with the law of attraction or working with a secret or the law of assumption or Neville stuff. What they do is they'll go up, or people we even work with, they'll go up this ladder, right? They'll go up, maybe they get all the way up to the 3rd floor, the 5th floor, the 4th floor. Oh, I've been doing this. I've been raising what we're doing. Think of this in terms of vibration. Think of this in terms of turning the dial and frequency. I'm all the way up on the 3rd, 4th floor now, right? But what do I start to do? I start to complain. Some of the things we talked about when we were talking about fasting from things. I start to get critical whether this really works or not. I start to move from confidence to doubt. I start to move to worry, doubt, and fear because I'm on the 3rd floor and I don't see this. I created this thing. It's not here. I don't see it. It's not working. But you're on the 3rd floor. Look at the progress look, you look down, you see, yeah, I really have made some progress because it's what we become along the way. It's the journey. The model's always the same: be, do, and have. What are we being, which will result in what we are having, what we are experiencing in our lives. So when people do that, when you dial it up, or you get to the third floor, or it could be the fifth floor or the 50th floor, and you start engaging with thoughts of worry, doubt, fear. Does this work? When you're losing the confidence, it's like climbing back down the ladder. It's like dialing down. And you can relate this through a staircase or a ladder, whatever works for you. You just went backwards when it comes to vibration and frequency. You have actually dialed down that radio dial and moved away from what you want to experience in your life. So that's not something that that we want to do. We want to be mindfully aware of where we are. And this applies to what we're doing in our lives on this positive path for spiritual living that we call unity. And especially when it comes to discussing and looking at and finding some having some faith in our third unity principle, which is we are co-creators with God, creating our reality through thoughts held in mind. Charles Fillmore, in Revealing Word, defined vibration for us from his point of view. He said vibrations is the state, the rate at which all forces move. One of the greatest discoveries of all ages is that of physical science, which shows us that all things have their source and being in vibrations. What Jesus taught so profoundly in symbols about the riches of the kingdom of the heavens has now been proved true. All right, science and theology, spirituality come together on this. The whole universe is in vibration, and that vibration is under law. Chaos would result if the law were not supreme. Each particle thing has its rate of vibration. Heat, light, and color are different rates of vibration in one field of primal energy. Different colors are caused by the different frequencies of the vibrations as they strike the eye. But what causes vibration? Mind. And we like to think of mind with an uppercase M, mind, source, infinite intelligence that we are one of. Thought vibrations. We know that thoughts are things, energy sent out by the force and the power of our thoughts. Here's another way you can look at this. I took this, I should have wrote down the lady's name, took it from a blog. This is not mine. If we look at this and we look at vibrations, and this is just, again, it's a tool to illustrate this for you. Look at our daily human life right at that line 0 there, right? Line 0, with ups and downs and things like that. And then we move up the scale, and maybe we make a shift in our emotional state when we're listening to music. Let's notice how they're tighter together, right? But notice the frequency of God at the top there, how they're real tight. So the highs and lows are even in there. And that comes into play when we talked a little bit about the law of polarity, how we experience some things that may feel like darkness and shadows in our lives. We may feel like worry, doubt, and fear, but we know there's a polar opposite. And we live from the inside out, working with our mental faculties and our spiritual powers to know that, hey, we moved through this before. We're vibrating at a higher level. So what we do is, rather than at the 0 where the lows are lower and the highs are higher, we tighten it up when we're always thinking from the mind of the Christ consciousness, Buddhist consciousness, Buddha consciousness, the infinite mind, whatever you want to call it, the higher self. We tighten all that up and we recognize, hey, we have ups and downs. This is the law of rhythm and the law of polarity. The law of rhythms, the tide goes out, the tide comes in. We have these experiences. But when we live from on high, we tighten all this up. In a course, this was I think probably last updated in the early 90s was this course that was given in ministerial school, and it's called Grace Awakening. And we can really call stepping into this flow of grace, moving up the scale, moving up the frequency scale. And it says grace consciousness is a consciousness that is vibrating on all levels of being according to the nature of God within, which is love. This love vibration is continually, oh, tongue tied today, continually being released from within us at the level of spirit. It perpetually seeks to flow through the soul, subconscious and conscious levels of mind, in its purity to bring forth into manifestation our world according to its likeness. The conscious mind, however, being pivotal, has chosen not to turn to spirit for all its perceptions and instructions, but to the manifest world without. Remember, I always talk about we're living from the inside out, not from without, not from what's going on around us. Because of this free will, error choice, making choices in error that are not aligned with truth, we may have absorbed into the cellular memory structure of the body and the mind many error perceptions. These misperceptions have accumulated in the deep subconscious, forming a wall of resistance to the pure vibrations of spirit. This wall is known as the facade barrier. It is often referred to in scripture as the veil that must be rent. Everything in this world is made up of energy. We are always emitting an energetic frequency, whether we acknowledge or not. I'm still quoting from this course. Becoming acquainted with this realm of energy and accepting its effect on our body, mind, and spirit allows us to master our thoughts, actions, and emotions. Our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors profoundly impact our energy and vibration. As we spend time in negative emotions such as fear, guilt, shame, apathy, and anger, we operate at very low frequencies. When we learn to heal and raise our awareness of these low vibrational emotions, we gradually move up the ladder into much higher energetic levels. The highest levels of vibration are those who attain enlightenment, pure joy, and true compassion for humanity. As we move up the ladder of frequency, fewer and fewer people are performing at the highest levels. Below these supreme levels that few people ever reach are unconditional love, acceptance, kindness, appreciation, creativity, beauty, abundance, etc. Moving down the ladder, though, we encounter the low vibrations of the mass population, such as fear, guilt, shame, anger, hatred, and judgment. Upwards of 90% of the population is operating at low vibrational frequency, and everything is touching everything. That's why we say consciousness is contagious. We are connected to every other thing in the world through an energetic field. Thus, when we raise our vibration, we uplift those around us as a result. As we raise our vibrational frequency, we sync up with the frequency of source. This connection with source energy is how we match the vibration of all that we desire and begin manifesting all that we want. What is so fascinating about the power of vibrational frequency is that as we move up the ladder, we have a profound effect on the world at large, not only ourselves. As Wayne Dyer wrote in his book, The Power of Intention, by raising your own frequency only slightly to a place where you regularly practice kindness, love, and receptivity, you counterbalance, check this out, 90,000 other people somewhere on this planet who are living in the low energy levels of shame, anger, hatred, guilt, despair, depression, and so on. So it does make a difference. You do make a difference. You do matter. As we become aware of the impact we have on ourselves and others, we can consciously choose to raise our own energy level to a place where we are in harmony with our positive intentions. So we created this desire and aspiration. We want to stay there. We want to be on that 72nd floor. We have to constantly see ourselves there. Here's what it looks like a little bit more. Another image I just pulled off the internet. And I was so, I did a podcast on this, but I didn't have that piece yet that I just shared. And it's speaking exactly to this talk, to this message this morning. And I know I'm running out of time here, but if you just look at this chart a little bit, you see down in the bottom is the shame, the guilt, the apathy, the grief, the worry, the doubt, the fear, the anger, right? And these vibrations, these frequencies all relate directly to our emotional state. And if you want to experience love and joy, you can choose to have thoughts that are in alignment with acceptance, with love, with joy, with peace. And by staying there, it's easier to reach that place of enlightenment. So this gives you another visual to say, step back and say, where am I? Am I in an emotional state? So let's use that. Let's say that penthouse, that 72nd floor, we want to experience more love in our lives. And we're at the second or third rung in the ladder, hanging out with guilt and shame and fear. Well, we have to work on our emotional state. Now, we can't always get to, looking at the ladder again, we have some rungs to climb. We have to accept that, be aware of that, and release it, give it to God, and know that we can make that movement. We hear in Psalm 91, he who takes refuge in the shelter of the Most High will be safe in the shadow of the Almighty. He will say to the Eternal, to our source, my shelter, my mighty fortress, my God, I place all my trust in you. In Isaiah, we hear, I will go much higher than the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. We hear that all the time. We talk about that all the time, the secret place of the Most High. This is the frequency and vibration that we want to achieve, and we want to stay there. How do we stay there? Well, faith and positivity. Look at what we just shared, right? It will go much higher than the clouds. I will make myself. I will do whatever it takes to stay in the energy and the conscious awareness of the holy presence of God that I am, and remain there. And I remain there by faith and with positivity. It sustains and maintains our frequency. It keeps us on high. And then if we look to the powers we talk about here in Unity, spiritual strength keeps us there. We hang on to that. Even when those lines, those waves of frequency dip down, spiritual strength keeps us hanging on because we know, we trust in the goodness of God. We relax in the goodness of God. We surrender to the goodness of God. So when times are tough, we're still there. Spiritual strength is something we want to develop, and the will, power to focus on the presence of God that is always there and always within us. This way, we're successfully navigating the law of rhythm. There it is again, just to show you another visual and how this plays out in your life. I'm going to wrap it up here with a couple of readings, and maybe we want to use these as a bit of a reflection piece. So I invite you, if you like to, I'm just going to share from a couple of pieces I found in my 365 Science of Mind that are in alignment with this. So I invite you to take a deep breath. Those of you out there, if it's safe to do so, perhaps close your outer eyes, as long as you're not driving, operating machinery, watching small children, or you're in no way in a position to hurt yourselves. So let's take a look to this in this moment. And we're going to go back to really what I mentioned as we began today. Pure source energy. Pure source energy. And we're going to affirm, I am bountifully supplied from divine substance. Life fills all space and spirit animates every form. But since you are an individual, even the spirit cannot make the gift of life unless you accept it. Life may have given everything to you, but only that which you accept as yours to use. Are you climbing the ladder? Turning from every objective fact, that which is outside of us, to the divine present that dwells within you, is turning from conditions outside of us to causes. It is turning from the relative to that realm of absolute being that through self-knowingness creates the forms it projects into the experience it creates. Thus, the spirit comes to self-fulfillment in everything. Through the manifestation of the power that is within you, you can project any objective experience you may legitimately desire. Be certain that you are accepting this truth, that you are living in joyous expectation of good, that you are accepting abundance. Say and pray with me, today I recognize the abundance of life. I animate everything in my experience with this idea. I remember only the good. I accept only the good and expect only the good. I give thanks that this good is flowing in ever increasing volume. I do not withhold good from myself or others, but proclaim that spiritual substance is forever flowing to each and all as daily supply. My state of consciousness attracts only good to me. This is the law of attraction and repulsion that works automatically. It is like the law of reflection, where the reflection corresponds with the image held in front of the mirror. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that we see what we animate, and that we animate what we see. Jesus proclaimed that it is done unto us as we believe. This remarkable spiritual genius even went so far as to say that when we feed the need of anything, when we feel, the need of anything or desire it, we should pray for it. And in the act of our prayer, we should mentally receive the object of our desire as though it already exists, because it does. My prayer today, then, is one of affirmation and acceptance. I lift my cup of acceptance, knowing there is divine outpouring that fills it to the brim. If my cup appears to remain empty, I neither condemn myself nor lose confidence in life. Rather, I move more carefully and scrutinize my own thinking, turning away from that which denies my good, turning away from the lower vibrations, turning the dial up in my game, changing the frequency, and striving always to live from on high. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. I want to thank you all for looking in today on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever this is being shared into, perhaps in your community. Thank you so much for being here. We behold the Christ in you. We love you. We bless you, and we hope to see you all through the week. Morning Inspiration, 7 days a week, right here on our Facebook channel. Those of you who are online with me, behind the curtain, so to speak, on Zoom, stay here. I'm going to end the Facebook feed, and we can have our fellowship. Those of you out there that would like to join us on Zoom, well, what you can do is get on our newsletter. You can look in the event sections. You can look at meetups. You can look all over this page, and you'll be able to sign up and get the link and the code to get here behind the curtain, so to speak. Thank you so much for looking in. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.